The December 11th, 2025 Des Moines City Council meeting is now called to order. Councilmember Mahoney is now going to lead us in the pledge. Please stand if you're able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. Well, welcome tonight on this dark, rainy, cold night. We appreciate you all being here so much. I just want to give a special shout out to my family back there coming tonight. I appreciate them being here. Thanks. If you're attending on Channel 21 or watching online, please recognize that we can't attend to our phones from the dais. So if you have any technical problems while you're watching the meeting tonight, you can email the city clerk at cityclerk@desmoineswa.gov. Please let the record show that all council members are present and that Councilmember Nutting will be participating remotely. Do we have any correspondence not previously received by council?
No, Mayor.
All right, thank you so much. So now it's time for comments from the public. Tonight, we will have two public hearings where there will be separate public comment, and that's in regard to our budget amendments and a Wesley master plan. Please understand that when you do come to give public comment, we can't respond or interact with you. However, we do take note of what you say and we welcome your input. We ask that if you come forward, please keep your comments respectful. Oh yes, and then if you have comments with regard to those two public hearing segments, we ask that you hold those public comments until that segment so that your public comment can be part of the record. Thank you so much. So now if you do come forward during this portion, we ask that you keep your comments respectful and you can keep your comments to 3 minutes. Please state your name and where you reside, the city where you reside. So we have several people up tonight. First up is Chris De La Rosa. Come on up to the podium.
Hello, my name is Chris De La Rosa, a resident of Des Moines. I'm following up on my public comment for the last meeting concerning the 13 flock cameras operating in the city. As detailed in my written statement emailed to you and the Chief of Police, the continued use of these cameras pose an unacceptable risk to our citizens due to security settings that include the use of multi-factor authentication, MFA, Washington Public Records Act ruling, vulnerabilities of human misuse, and physical hacking. I want to highlight a critical point that the Chief of Police and I discussed after the last meeting. If the city is using standard MFA, where an officer just taps approve on their phone to type in a code, that is not secure for phishing. Only phishing restricted MFA, which requires a physical security token or smart card, offers true protection against human error and hacking. My purpose tonight is to request a formal timeline for action. Council, I respectfully ask for clarification on the timeline for this action. Specifically, when will a resolution or motion to decommission and remove and permanently disable the 13 flock cameras be placed on upcoming council agenda for official vote? So pretty much asking when are we going to see this on the agenda. We urge you to follow the clear precedent set by your peers in Olympia and Redmond to protect the citizens and safety of the privacy. They disabled their cameras. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Next up is Dave Kaplan.
Good evening, Council. Dave Kaplan, resident and former council member and mayor, not wearing my work hat tonight. I wanted to say a few words regarding public service. First, I wanted to thank all 7 council members for their service to our community. I think people don't understand the amount of hours, the amount of reading, the amount of engagement with the public, not only at the council meetings, but otherwise. And all of that goes into your ability to be able to do the job that you chose to do, which is not an easy job. There are a lot of decisions that you wind up having to make that are the benefit of the city as a whole. that might impact the neighborhood. But because it's to the benefit of the city as a whole, those are the kinds of things that you wind up having to make those tough decisions about. There are other things where there are trade-offs, where there are no good options, and yet you've done that. I'd like to particularly call out Councilmember Mahoney and Mayor Buxton, and both have served with distinction as mayor and as council member for the last 8 years. You can argue about the way that they approach things, some a little more robustly than others, but both of you have exemplified leadership in terms of moving the city forward on important issues, particularly regarding economic development and diversifying our community, making it a place that people will want to come visit as a way to help sustain the city's finances going forward. And, there's been a lot of back and forth over the decades in that regard. And I appreciate the fact that you've continued the effort to try and make sure that the city is a place that people will want to come to, regardless of what elements are included in that. I'm personally very proud of the fact that we went forward with the steps. For decades, I heard about the need to connect the downtown and the marina. Heard it from the marina owners, and heard it from boat owners, and heard it from the people in downtown, the businesses in downtown. That's moving forward. It's something that needs to happen. It's something that needs to support the city as a whole. Things never change unless you take the first step forward. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for your service, all 7 of you, for the service on the council, and for you two in particular for the very hard work you've done over the last 8 years to make our city that much better. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. So appreciated. Next up is Bettina Carey.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bettina Carey, and a resident of the Marina District, speaking as myself. But tonight I'd like to talk for all of us to celebrate someone who has led our city with heart, vision, and unwavering devotion to community, Mayor Tracy Buxton. Tracy has lived in Des Moines for more than 40 years, and she has poured that love into our hearts every day of her service. Since joining the City Council in 2017 and becoming mayor in 2024, she has guided us with grace, steadiness, and a remarkable gift for bringing people together. This past year, she was also elected as president of the Sound Cities Association, a tremendous honor for leaders across 38 cities who recognize what we've always recognized about you, and that is that you're compassionate, collaborative, and incredibly effective. And as you prepare to leave office in January, I want to acknowledge you as a council member, and also to acknowledge Council Member Matt Mahoney for his contributions and partnerships alongside you during this chapter. I've only been here less than 3 years, and it's been amazing to watch what's gone on in here. And he is also in part responsible for helping me see Des Moines' true potential, the reason I proudly call this my forever home. Mayor Tracy Buxton, you've done an amazing job. Matt Mahoney, former mayor, you've done an amazing job. We are grateful, and we celebrate you both tonight. Thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you, Bettina. Next up, Chuck Coleman.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, City Manager, and the public. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everyone. Mayor Buxton and Councilmember Mahoney, this is a letter that is from the Redondo Community Association. On behalf of them, we want to extend our sincere appreciation for your years of service to the city of Des Moines and to our waterfront community. Public leadership requires resilience, patience, and no small amount of personal sacrifice. We are grateful for the time and energy you devoted to the city during your tenure on the council and as mayor. You consistently showed up to meet with our community, to listen and to engage, especially during moments when Redondo was seeking direction, clarity, or simply a hearing. We noticed and appreciated your willingness to be present. You played a role in bringing strong administrative leadership to the city, notably with the hiring of City Manager Catherine Cathry, whose impact on the city has already been significant. Your support of efforts to improve safety, including the installation of speed cameras and recognition on the boardwalk as a park, are deeply appreciated. We are also grateful for the support you lent to city initiatives that lifted up Redondo's unique identity, particularly the recognition of the six-gill shark, the partnership with the Mass Center, and the rebuilding of the fishing pier. These efforts help shine a light on a part of the city that's had great potential, and they are contributing to a growing sense of pride. As you step away from elected office, we want you to know that your efforts had an impact. The relationship between Redondo residents and the city is stronger, more engaged, and more forward-moving today than it ever was. We appreciate your role in that progress and wish you the very best in whatever comes next. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Next up, Judy Grand.
Hi, my name's Judy Grandy, and I live in Des Moines. Earlier today, I sent all of the city council members, the police chief, the city clerk, and the city manager an email today about the flock safety cameras, which use the automatic license plate recognition, also known as ALPR technology. This technology is used for mass surveillance, and 13 cameras have been installed throughout Des Moines at an annual cost of $37,500. This surveillance system compiles mountains of sensitive data about Des Moines residents' locations into an easily searchable database. The system is an enormous target for abuse, both internally and externally. The system can also be physically and/or electronically hacked. A recent Skagit County court case proved that anyone can request access to ALPR data through a Washington Public Records request. Residents in Olympia, Redmond, and other Washington towns have requested to have their flock cameras deactivated or suspended because of the many opportunities for abuse. I'm requesting that the City Council call for a vote, either today or at the first City Council meeting in January, to decommission the Des Moines flock cameras. Please respond to my email if you have any questions, and to let me know what your response is to my request. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Next up, Tina Orwell. That's Senator in baby talk.
Tina Orwell. I have the honor of representing the 33rd Legislative District in Olympia, and I live in the beautiful city of Des Moines. And I'm here tonight to thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Mahoney, for your service to our community. I have been so impressed by your presence in Des Moines. I think of all the activities and events, you've been there. You've been there for the community. You've also been in there for a community in things that people maybe don't often see, like around domestic violence and supporting survivors. I also want to thank you for your partnership on the airport. One of the things, Mayor Buxton, is when we worked on fixing the failed packages, you showed up in Olympia, and your testimony and support was critical to moving that bill. So I just want to say you both have been outstanding leaders, and you're going to be missed. And I know you're still living here. We're still going to tap you, but again, your service has really made a difference to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Very meaningful. Thank you, Tina. So is there anyone, I normally ask, is there anyone who came tonight wishing to speak during public comment and didn't recognize that you needed to sign in? This is an opportunity for you to speak if you'd like. Okay. Next up is our regional committee reports. We're not operating on our traditional committee modality right now, but we do have council members who serve on committees out in the region. So this is a time for them to report out about subjects at those tables that might be of interest to our citizens. Is there any council member that would like to report out right now? Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. Wednesday was supposed to be the last meeting of the Emergency Management Advisory Committee. However, the meeting was scrubbed, sort of moved to something else because the Emergency Operations Center was activated due to the flooding and all of the stuff. I just wanted to note that, especially for incoming council members, based on what Mayor Kaplan said, you can do things, these little things in regional committees that make a difference. When I got involved with the EMAC, frankly, there's been a code alert notification system for phones, but it didn't work all the time as well as it should have, and you know, one of the little things, contributions we've been able to make is to get that fixed. And I encourage everyone who has not signed up, please sign up for Code Alert. It is for more than floods. It is things like these storms, and it provides resources to people in any kind of emergency situation like this past week. So please, as you come into the council, consider that there are other services that will benefit Des Moines beyond just what happens up here every couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Anyone else? Councilmember Mahoney.
I attended today the last Puget Sound Regional Council Transportation Policy Board, and really the big subject was the Regional Transportation Plan. That'll be released next week to the public, and everybody will have until the end of January to respond. And so it was a great honor to be on that and try to influence as much as I could to benefit our city. Hopefully my conversations about ferries and so forth hit some land, and we'll see what happens. Not that's like a bad pun or crossover. But anyway, it was an honor to finally get in on it. I tried for 6 years before I got on it, and I was really glad that I could get that influence at that level. Thank you.
Oh, you were a good pick for that. I appreciate your expertise that you built over the years here, so thank you for serving. Anyone else? All right, so we'll move on to the City Manager's report. I'll pass the baton to City Manager Catherine Caffrey.
Mayor and Council, we have one item on the agenda that is very important that we're going to get to in just a moment, so do not leave, everybody. But before that, Victoria Andrews from our Citizen Advisory Board. Last night we had our last meeting of the year. And so as a representative from CAB, Victoria is going to give a brief kind of overview on some of the things CAB did this year, and then we'll move into the highlight of the City Manager report tonight.
Thank you, City Manager Caffrey, and good evening, everyone. I am proud to represent the Citizens Advisory Board, the CAB, or the CAB, for this report to the Council. 3 of you are intimately aware of what we have been doing, and I want to begin by thanking our board liaison, Councilmember Oxiger, outgoing Mayor Buxton, and especially our Chair, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz. Thanks to former Mayor Mahoney for launching us into existence in 2023. And I want to express our appreciation to our staff liaison, Tara Vaughn, and to Alex Reyes and Bonnie Wilkins for the administrative support they're providing to Tara and our board. For those of you here or watching who may not be aware of what the CAB is, we are 24 current and retired professionals from a variety of public and private affiliations. We volunteered for this board because we all want to provide meaningful, emphasize, support to the city, and we've pushed hard for that. We recognize and appreciate that the city is allocating staff resources to this body, and we want to prove we are worth the investment. I believe that after the last 6 weeks, we have demonstrated that we are and that we can do more. We were challenged to engage with citizens around the survey that is kicking off the city's strategic plan called Charting Our Course. Colleen Gant ably chaired our efforts to engage with as many citizens as possible. First our neighbors, then our networks. Then, working behind the scenes, Colleen enlisted us to distribute surveys at the Holiday Farmers Market, the food bank, both libraries, 4 senior living communities, daycare centers, and at the tree lighting. We helped the city garner around 1,000 surveys And City Manager Caffrey said that number would not have been possible without us. The survey input will help the council and staff crystallize what our citizens think of Des Moines currently and what they hope it will look like in 5 to 10 years. A word that came up the most often in describing the current city was potential. Some see that as a negative. The CAB sees that word as a positive, and we say, yes, how can we help? The CAB restructured and expanded this year. In addition to representatives from the 9 neighborhoods, it also has members at large, and within the board are 3 subcommittees. Each presented their 2026 work plans at our meeting last night. Briefly, the Arts Subcommittee, chaired by Jeff Crump, has done an amazing amount of work in a very short time. They have 6 really excellent bands under contract for the Summer Beach Park concert series and are seeking sponsorships to help offset the cost, as well as planning a poster contest to promote the concerts. A sculpture walk is planned on April 25th to coincide with International Sculpture Day Walk. In the works is a Jazz Blues Festival in Backstage Alley, with the CAB and the Des Moines Legacy Foundation as co-sponsors. They're also working on finding local businesses to sponsor new artistic utility wraps, summer flower baskets, and Christmas decorations. And a digital short video contest for high school students on why they like living in Des Moines is another idea the group is considering. The Human Services Subcommittee is chaired by Corrine Anderson-Ketchmark. Their purpose is to recommend grant funds to nonprofits that can demonstrate they provide safety net services to our neediest citizens, those dealing with homelessness, mental health issues, domestic violence, sexual assault, pregnancy, or food insecurity. The city's budget for these grants is not large, so it partners with a South King County consortium of neighboring cities to pool funds for a bigger impact. In the past, a full-time staff member attended monthly meetings, coordinated the grant process, and produced financial and service progress reports. The subcommittee evaluated and prioritized the grant proposals and made a final recommendation to council on which would best serve our residents. Staff support now has been reduced, but not eliminated, and we are currently in mid-funding cycle, so each member will likely be assigned to review a number of proposals after applications go out in March. Summer should be busy before the final recommendations are made in the fall. And finally, the Senior Services Subcommittee is chaired by Eileen Evans. They are planning periodic meetings to liaison with Wesley Homes, Judson Park, Huntington Park, and the Adriana, sharing information and soliciting ideas about events they are interested in. Because other CAB members are part of these communities, there's a lot of collaboration going on with this subcommittee as well as the Arts Subcommittee. For example, finding volunteers willing to transport residents who are in catered living so they can attend summer concerts. The volunteers of the Citizens Advisory Board have each demonstrated how much they care about our city. We ask the council and staff to, as I put it, use us. And we do feel we have become a valuable partner to supplement what the staff of a city our size is able to do. We're all excited to help with the strategic plan process, to solicit community input on how budget dollars should be spent, and to keep pushing to find ways to engage uninvolved citizens. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Appreciate it.
Okay, I am actually going to come down to the podium for this next one. We don't normally come down here, so this feels different, but we are going to recognize Councilmember Matt Mahoney, and then maybe you'll agree to a picture when you get this lovely, more than a plaque, I don't know what else to call it, glass sailboat. And then we can move on to Mayor Buxton, and then we'll do a brief recess so family and friends can take pictures and things like that. So I'm Catherine Caffrey, I'm the city manager, but on behalf of staff, we'd like to recognize Councilmember Matt Mahoney for his service to our community. Matt has been part of the City Council since 2018. He served as deputy mayor from 2020 to 2021, and then mayor from 2022 to 2023. Matt, your impact is visible across our community. You helped lead the revitalization of the Memorial Triangle. You championed the Marina Steps. You've strengthened the city's partnership with the Mast Center, and you've supported the development of a passenger ferry. You took on quality of life issues like championing legislation to ban aftermarket mufflers. You also carried forward important traditions and touchstones in our community. You've continued the recognition of Stephen J. Underwood's legacy, and you have advocated for veterans in a multitude of ways, and you have been a consistent leader organizing our Veterans Day event each year. So these contributions will continue to shape Des Moines long after your term. And while all these accomplishments matter, when I reached out to senior staff and asked them to share some of their kind of favorite things about you, what staff spoke most about was the kind of leader you were. You were a champion for staff, not blindly, but with a real respect for the work it takes to keep this city running. You recognized effort, encouraged us to think boldly, and trusted that we could rise to the challenge. Your integrity and willingness to stand for what you believed in, especially when it meant choosing the harder path, left a strong impression. We also saw the very human side of your service, your eagerness to help community members whenever you could, even when it sometimes caused you a little trouble. Your generosity, I will say this staff person said you were particularly generous with your Scotch collection. I can't really speak to that, but apparently he is. And your deep, unwavering support for everything waterside. So from the Mass Center and SR3 to coastal cleanup and tenant associations, our marina team in particular shared how much your engagement has meant to them. So Matt, thank you for your leadership, your conviction, and your support for this organization, especially during my first year here. We are grateful for your service and wish you the very best. Council, I was thinking when we break for the reception, we could do like full photos with you all, but. Mayor, do you want to say anything about Councilmember Mahoney, and then we'll talk about you?
Oh, heavens. Oh, my goodness. Well, in this playing field, as far as people that I met, he was the first to become my friend. And I felt like a brother, kind of. I mean, we ran at the same time, got elected at the same time. We've been to we were at every single council meeting all along the time that we ran together, and championed a lot of the same things. I thought a couple of other things, Waterland Way, I mean, that was kind of born out of, and a real champion of Backstage Alley. So I have appreciated Matt so much, his support. I mean, that guy, I've been jealous at how prepared he can come to a meeting and how eloquent he can be in supporting the things that are important to him. He's above and beyond. Anybody who gets him for the energy of the rest of his life is blessed. And so I've been really honored to serve alongside of him. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about, I met Matt during the 2017 campaign when I ran the first time and somebody else beat me. And she's gone on to great things. But Matt and I, during the campaign, kept showing up at all the same events, and we started talking, and we actually became friends during that process. He's really just a great guy who's full of energy and was always concerned about what he thought was best for Des Moines and how to do that and how to get people, how to bring them along to his vision. I think one thing that hasn't been mentioned here tonight is that when Matt became mayor, it was during COVID. And it was during a period that was incredibly turbulent. That was then followed, of course, by hyperinflation. And budgeting became a nightmare. And yet he managed to sort of keep that steady pace, keep things on a very steady course for the city of Des Moines. And I think that, you know, we forget sometimes what happened. But, boy, he did just an incredible job of sort of keeping a lid on everything. The other thing, Matt, that really stands out is Matt is the kind of guy to just take the bull by the horns and deal with the problem. And he'd certainly done that on a number of occasions. It stepped on some toes occasionally, but he is also the one that, recognizing that the former city manager needed to leave, and went in and negotiated that exit. And, you know, that's a hard thing to do. I don't know if everybody recognizes how difficult that could be, particularly somebody that had sort of been an ally. But it was time. And Matt saw that, and he just took the lead and managed to do that. He has, has been mentioned, he was deputy mayor and then became mayor. He's always been focused on economic issues. He's a veteran and championed the Veterans Memorial. He was actually the one that made the motion to take $100,000 away from the steps and put it towards the Redondo Pier so we could get it done. And that is one of the things that has really characterized Matt's time on the council, is getting something done and seeing the path to do that. So I just want to say, Matt, thank you very much for your time. You've been a good friend, and I appreciate it.
So we would like to recognize Mayor Tracy Buxton for her service to our community. Tracy has been a part of the City Council since 2018. She served as Deputy Mayor 2022 to 2023 and Mayor 2024 through 2025. Tracy, your leadership has made a lasting impact on Des Moines. You were fiercely committed to improving our community engagement and communications. You always make sure residents feel informed and connected. You advanced the public park zone speed safety program, you've championed the steps, you've supported the passenger ferry, and you continue to work with regional partners to really bring services to Des Moines. You've also strengthened our regional presence. You've helped move Skip forward and represented our city as vice president and now president of the Sound Cities Association, which is a collection of 38 cities in King County, and Tracy is the president. Your advocacy, from human services and mental health support to small businesses and public safety, have shaped our city's direction in meaningful ways. So many of the comments I heard from staff were about who you were as a guiding force for our organization. They consistently shared how seriously you approached the responsibility of being mayor, how intentional you are in your decisions, and how deeply you care about serving the community well. They talked about your sincerity, your authenticity, and the genuine way you showed up for people, whether in big moments or small gestures. Man, I get kind of teary. I got to stop looking at you. Okay, I'm going to look over here. Tracy's engagement with the community was unmatched. You were truly everywhere. You were listening, encouraging, making people feel valued. Your support for employees has been evident. Your enthusiasm for our waterfront has brought energy and momentum to ideas that will shape our future. And on a personal note, I was at the Sound Cities Association annual meeting last week, where Tracy was recognized for her service, and their executive director began his comments by saying, "Oh, cry, working for Tracy Buxton is one of the best things that happened to me this year." So let me now say, working for Tracy Buxton is one of the best things that happened to me this year. So I am forever grateful for you being you during this past year of tremendous transition in our organization and community. We thank you so much and wish you all the best with what you do next. So I didn't know if the council wanted to say anything. Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I just want to echo that working with Tracy is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So she has truly taught me the power of kindness, both in this job and other things. And it's really, her tenure began in 2018 after what was really just a great campaign between the two of us. We talked about the city, how we saw it, and the future. And that's the way campaigns should be. It shouldn't be about criticizing other people. So Tracy and I don't always agree on everything, but, we are usually able to work it all out. And even if we ended up on the other side of issues, that never carried over. Her commitment to, local improvements, her commitment to municipal facilities, community programs, on top of her regional leadership that she brought to this job. I mean, every mayor, everywhere. It's just absolutely amazing the connections that she's been able to make. And her style of constantly reaching out, constantly talking to people, has really, I think, brought this city back together in a way that it desperately needed to do. And so I just want to say that I really, really appreciate everything that Tracy has done, her focus on economic development, environmental stewardship, public safety, and building those regional partnerships has made Des Moines a better place and a place that people want to come to. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I didn't know we were going to make statements, so I'm not as prepared.
Everybody's noticed. You're going to make statements.
In this particular area, yeah. But no, this city's fortunate to have somebody like Tracy that loves this city so much. You can only hope you get somebody like her in the future. She's one of those people that is so kind. And I almost, in some ways, I might have been the bad cop when she was the good cop. And so be it, but you need that yin and yang, and we were an effective team together in that regard. And we saw the same visions of the city, and we could see the repeated struggles and the cycle of insanity we continue to follow, and we knew we needed to break that. And I just appreciated that she was steadfast in that vision as much as anybody was. And from the bottom of my heart, we weren't as close the last couple of years. We had our differences. But one thing that I can say about Tracy that is genuine is that she never stopped loving this community and being everywhere and in every place. And her enthusiasm was at an affection level stronger than any COVID could ever be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
All right. Well, if we want to take a quick break for some photos, it's fine.
Absolutely. A quick break, about 10 minutes.
Council, do you mind doing it? Like, can we just do the group photo real quick if you don't mind for you all?
Down here?
Yeah.
Down,
Yeah.
definitely.
And John, if you want to grab it.
Oh, yeah, grab our things.
family members.
The Des Moines City Council meeting is now called back to order. The next item on our agenda tonight is the consent calendar. Could the clerk please read the calendar for us?
Item 1, approval of vouchers. Item 2, approval of minutes. Item 3, creating public safety sales tax fund, second reading. Item 4, 2026 vehicle purchase. Item 5, 2026 to 2027 on-call consultant agreements for civil engineering services. Item 6, Planning Commission ordinance, second reading. Item 7, Marina Steps Innovative Stormwater Bioretention Testing on-call general engineering services task assignment with SOMAS. Item 8, Animal Control contract. Item 9, 16th Avenue Pipe Project Consultant on-call agreement task assignment for engineering services. And that concludes the consent agenda, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Mahoney.
So moved. Pass the consent agenda as read.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second for Deputy Mayor Steinmetz. Is there an item that any council member wishes to pull? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. It looks like it's unanimous. Thank you so much. Yeah, excellent. Okay, up next is public hearing number 1 in regard to our biennial budget. The purpose of this item is for the council to consider amending the 2025-2026 biennial budget. I will now open the public hearing. We'll begin with a staff presentation with Finance Director Jeff Friend.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public, and also would like to add a happy holiday season for everybody. Jeff Friend, Finance Director, presenting the 2025-26 biennial budget amendments. This is the second reading. The first reading was on November 13th last month. We're going to begin with an overview, a little refresher about the budget biennial budgeting process. Then we're going to talk about the general fund, spend some time there since the general fund is our daily, day-to-day operations, and then finish up with some slides on the other funds outside of the general fund. So biennial budgeting, I don't know why I can't say it tonight. What it is, budgeting 2 years at a time instead of one. So municipalities have a choice the state allows. You can budget annually for 1 year at a time, or biennially, budgeting 2 years at a time. And early last year, the council approved the change from budgeting annually to biennially. So this is our first, the 2025-26 budget is the first biennial budget the city has done. And how it works is year one, which is, in this case with this budget, was 2024. So that is when the budget is adopted. So council approves the budget for both years. So last year, about a year ago, the council approved the budget for 2025, and they approved the budget for 2026 all at once. Year two, which is this year, 2025, state law requires that a mid-biennium review is done. So we review the revenues, expenditures, and priorities and make adjustments as needed. So if you do budget 2 years at a time, you can't adopt a budget for 2 years and then do nothing for a year. And the reason you would want to do a mid-biennium review anyway is because you learn more as time progresses. You know, different transactions occur and whatnot. So biennial budgeting, the advantages were it saves time and resources, it improves long-term planning, it enhances oversight, and there's less politicization of the budget process because it does not occur during an election year. So it saves time and resources and enhances oversight. They're kind of related because department heads and staff members who are managing a budget spend less time doing paperwork with this process than if they had to build from a budget from scratch every year. And enhances oversight because they're not doing all that paperwork every year. That gives them more time to have oversight over the performance of their programs. And where we are now, we are at the tail end of the mid-biennium review. So we reviewed the 2026 budget, and we have made budget amendment recommendations. I want to clarify, it's not a new budget. So we're just making adjustments to the budget that was adopted for 2026 last year and also for 2025. So this is a schedule that shows the timeline of the mid-biennium review. And you are here, December 11th. We're at the end. So there's a lot of work that took place before we got to the end, to the second reading of the amendments. Beginning earlier this year, back in July, we did a call out to departments for amendments and adjustments. And then in late July into August, I believe it was July, around August, we had budget meetings with each department and went line by line through the budgets, looked at their projections. When we got into September, we updated the forecast. Then if you were at earlier meetings, you might have seen we had public hearings in regard to property tax levies, and also there was a budget presentation to the Citizens Advisory Board. So all of those things took place earlier this year. We got into November. In November, we had the first reading of the budget amendments for the biennial budget, and now a month later, due to the Thanksgiving holiday and whatnot, we are at the second public hearing for the amendments. So on to the general fund. The general fund in the budget amendments. So we're working on both years and amending them both. So adjustment to revenue, we are increasing the overall revenue for 2025 by about $95,000. And in 2026, we are decreasing our expectations by about $317,000. I want to also comment that the details of everything is in the packet, in the agenda item. And so these slides are very much an overview and highlights of those amendments. So the slides don't have everything, but they have the most pertinent items that we felt should be on display on the slides. So in 2025, the reason you might see the schedule on the bottom of the slide that shows the revenue categories of sales tax and B&O tax there and those reductions. So you say, well, you're reducing it a lot in that 2025 column on the right, yet on the schedule above it says we're increasing it by $95,000. So overall, for both years, we needed to adjust our expectations for sales tax and B&O tax. And we have different types. We have regular sales tax and B&O tax and one-time sales tax and B&O tax. And the difference is if there's a project, construction project happening in the city that's permitted at $15 million or more, we consider that to be one-time funds. So that's not something that's going to happen every day. So we classify that one differently. And then regular sales tax is that you buy something from Amazon, the city gets sales tax. That's just regular sales tax, if you go shopping in the city or do online ordering. So that's the difference between the two. We break them out on the accounting side. And the square footage tax we've talked about in a few meetings this year. That's a new tax that was adopted at the end of last year, implemented for the first time this year. So in regards to all these taxes, you'll see that the sales tax for one-time transactions and B&O tax, also for one-time transactions, are being reduced this year. They were just regular B&O tax was just over budgeted, and then the one-time sales taxes, because we had projects that were on the horizon, but we weren't too clear on the timing of when they were going to begin back when we were budgeting in 2024. So those we hadn't seen the revenue come in yet, so that's why we have to reduce our expectations for that. The square footage tax, again, it was an issue of difficulty of ramping up that tax this year, implementing it for the first time. And I believe in the first quarter we had collected $30,000, and as you can see, we budgeted $840,000, so it wasn't a great start. By the second quarter, we had $103,000, but through November we had about $300,000. I believe in 26,000. So through all the work of getting businesses to comply with the tax and collecting that tax, it seemed like reality was saying $515,000 was a more realistic expectation than $840,000 and $865,000. And then lastly, regular sales tax. For 2026, we were reducing by $70,000 just because of economic uncertainty. Uncertainty has just been a key word in discussing the economy this year. Like with our broker that we invest with, they said they have almost like a swear jar for any time anybody says uncertainty. So we did a minor reduction. We expect it just to kind of stay flat, hopefully, but we didn't want to overestimate how well the economy would do or sales tax growth. If it comes in higher, that's great, but we didn't want to rely on revenue that might not be there. Okay, for expenditures, I mentioned that we had department budget meetings where we had line-by-line review with all the leadership of each department. So that was the initial approach. Then when all that information is collected, the assistant city manager, and myself, three of us, we look at everything, and then that's when decisions are made, because these are really requests by the department. But we see how everything shakes out once we gather everybody's information. And then so after that took place, following the city manager's direction, departments were asked for scenarios where they cut just across the board 3% of their budget and 5% of their budget. So, and again, not that we didn't incorporate every suggestion, but again, that was just, again, we pull that together, see where we're at, and then more decisions were made, and those are reflected in these amendments. But the goal throughout the whole process is to minimize the impact to city services as much as we can. So we look where there can be cuts, and, look at where maybe somebody's projecting less than what was budgeted for their expenditures, and go from there. Cost drivers. So what the challenge for the city is, I believe I heard the word nightmare earlier in regards to budgeting, is inflation. So we've had a lot of inflation this decade, and so it was on the decrease a little bit at the end of last year and creeping up throughout this year since April. Not as high as it was a couple of years ago. But we still have to deal with inflation. We also have bargaining agreements. So the city has 3 bargaining units to negotiate collective bargaining agreements with. Health insurance premiums, I'm sure a lot of people know, those were saw dramatic increases this year. And also Score Jail has had some challenges of their own, and the city is an owner city of Score Jail. So they had a contract from the state that the state withdrew, so that was about $3.5 million of revenue that they did not receive, and also their insurance is going up about 150%. So there's some cost challenges that the jail has, and that filters through to the owner cities, and the owner cities pay based on how much we use the jail, and that's where we're thankful for the city of Auburn, because they use a lot of that jail. So. I live in Auburn, so, as a taxpayer, not too thrilled, but as a finance director in the city of Des Moines, pretty happy. General expenditures, so total adjustments overall for both years in the general fund would be an increase of $718,000 in 2025, but a decrease of $340,000 next year. So for 2025, we have some unbudgeted items, and when we do budget amendments, it's because usually something happens that we didn't anticipate. So, for example, the homeless encampment cleanup wasn't on our radar in 2024, but it occurred, so we incurred that cost. The body cam refresh is another example. However, that item is also being paid for with grant funds that are in a budget amendment on the revenue side. So that's really not costing the city anything, but we do need to capture it in the budget on the expenditure side. Well, on both sides, but the police salary, that's again, that's kind of a placeholder for the collective bargaining agreement that's between the police guild and the city. So the guild members have been paid according to the old contract all year, and we've got to catch them up once everything's in place, so that they've been paid throughout 2025 at what the contract stipulates. Staff reduction costs were not included. There was a couple of director positions that were terminated, and there's employee contracts related to those, and so those need to be included in the budget as well. For 2026, we have a number of decreased expenditures, at least as far as what we're planning. So there's extra higher wages for the $52,000. There's a position that is no longer filled, no longer needed. We have some public defender's expense that we'd like to move from the general fund to a new public safety sales tax fund, which we'll see a few slides from now. Insurance costs, we think it looks like we're going to have a little bit of a decrease next year, so it's decreasing about $37,000. And then city currents will also be produced in-house instead of outsourced to a printer. And then some police leases, also we'd see a reduction of $80,000. So those are some of the highlights of the reduction in expenditures. And the bottom line you see there is a contingency. And it's not a reduction, but that's an increase of $50,000. And our next slide, I believe, talks about that. So budgeting a contingency. So a contingency is defined as a potential occurrence of a negative event in the future. So it's a little bit like a rainy day fund, but it's building a little bit of a buffer in the budget for when something shows up that we're not anticipating. We have a pretty tight budget. So when something unexpected happens that maybe there's a lot of dollars attached to it, it really affects our city because we're not a large city. So, and we have a tight budget right now. So unexpected things have an impact. And so one of the ways to budget and kind of plan for that is to have a contingency built in. So it builds flexibility, strengthens stability, and we'd like it to increase over time. So you saw it was $50,000. That's not a huge amount of money. We'd like to see it grow over time to at least, maybe $200,000. And then one of the things I had read is like, well, why would you budget for this now when things are tight? Why not wait for when things, you have more resources, things are good. But when the comment was, when things are good and you're not really worried about anything, you tend to not, you tend to forget. Things are nice. And so even if you take a little baby step when things are tough, at least you're building in your discipline when you're thinking about how important it is. So that's why we decided at this point in time to budget $50,000 for a contingency. And also that last line says it requires council approval for expenditure. So that budget line can't there's no expenditures going to be coming from there unless it is approved by council. As previously mentioned, health insurance costs have increased. So this year, Kaiser Permanente, we saw an 11.6% increase in premiums. Regents, I should rephrase that, for next year, we see these increases. Regents is going to go up 8.7%, and the Left Trust is going up 5%. So this, of course, puts a burden on the budget. In 2024, we weren't really seeing, we wouldn't have known that they were going to go up this much. One of the strategies that we addressed this with in the budget amendments was that non-represented employees, actually in practice, this is being implemented. The non-represented employees are going to increase their share of that premium by 3%. So the city pays one piece of the premium, the employees pay another. The employees will be paying 3% more than they have in the past. Council budget, this is a slide. In the first reading, there was an initial proposal of $5,000 increase for training and professional development, and then about $3,700 for a potential membership dues to the National League of Cities. Following that proposal, there was council discussion. That council discussion has resulted in an increase in training and professional development of $9,000, and it's and to not include the NLC membership at this time. So on the schedule above, you can see the new training professional development at $9,000 for next year is an increase. This is the forecast based on our projections with the revised budget. So the first column is the amended annual budget for this year. The second column is projected actuals for this year. Third is the revised budget, and then the forecast is from 2027 out. What we do in this, This forecast has a beginning cash balance and an ending cash balance, which you see in yellow. At the end of every year, and this is per the municipal code, is there's a requirement that states that the city's fund balance for the general fund or operating reserves need to be 16.67. So those are two metrics. We report on a cash basis, and so we try to look at the cash balances. Cash balance percentages, as you see along the bottom of the schedule, tend to be lower than they would be for the fund balance, and we do calculate both after the year is done, because the fund balance, because it involves more items from the balance sheet, it involves more than cash. It tends to be higher, but we want to focus on cash because we want to have a strong cash position, because we know if that's strong, we have enough resources for our operations. The 16.67% is a recommended threshold by the Government Finance Officers Association. It basically means you have enough to cover 2 months of expenses. So looking at these columns, you see none of those numbers are above 16.67%. We have a goal of getting our cash above that so that we have enough cash to cover 2 months of expenditures. But it does grow in the next couple of years. According to the forecast, if you look at the ending cash balance that's shaded in yellow, projected actuals would have us at $3.3 million. We began at almost $2.9 million, so that we would have grown about $461,000 in our cash position. Then the revised budget, if things were to go according to plan, as of course they always go according to plan, we'd end 2026 with a cash position of $3.6 million. So that goes back to our overall goal of stability, is really if we build our cash balances, we're going to be that much more stable. So key highlights for the general fund is improvement to the city's ending fund balance and cash reserves. We want to align revenues with more conservative expectations. We targeted expense reductions with minimal service impact, and we introduced a contingency. So this reflects the administration's long-term strategy to stabilize the city's financial foundation over the next several years. So that was the general fund, and we'll go pretty quickly through the other funds. Public Safety Sales Tax Fund, I believe it was last week that this fund was created and approved after 2 readings by the council. We anticipate about $450,000 of annual revenue, and the anticipated expenditures would be about $240,000 for a sworn police officer, $100,000 for animal control, and about $110,000 for public defenders. So if you remember from the general fund slide, we decreased the public defenders' budgeted amount in the general fund for next year by $110,000, but we're adding it into this fund for $110,000. And as far as public defenders' costs go, the reason that's important is the state mandated a decrease in the caseload for public defenders, which is going to increase the number of public defenders, which will increase our costs. Currently, there's an RFQ that the city issued for a contract of the services that are currently working through. So we'll have more information on what those costs actually will be early next year. On the marina, the real highlight here for next year is you'll see monthly moorage rate increase resulting in $1 million increase in revenue. And then you can see expenditures, capital improvements. We're increasing the budget there, $820,000. And the $820,000, I believe, represents expenditures related to the tenant restroom. Surface water management is similar in the sense that we're increasing the budget in 2025 and 2026 related to capital improvements. So what this year, the capital improvements plan was passed for 2026 to 2031. And money moves around between projects, and things change, timing of projects changes. And so what we want to do is we want to bring the budget into alignment with the capital improvements plan. So as a result, you'll see changes in the budget here for both years for the capital improvements for surface water management. And then next year also, you'll notice a Department of Ecology grant and local grants. There's expected revenue of $120,000, $190,000. So we want to increase the budget for that. On the horizon, so February, during the February study session, there's a planned overview of long-range financial forecast and revenue enhancement options. So in the last few months, the staff have brought revenue enhancement options to council for feedback. That study session, I believe we're going to present them all with a model to see their impacts and get more feedback then. So we'll include a high-level forecast through 2040 for the general fund, marina, and surface water management. And again, as I mentioned, there will be a model that will be very dynamic because my department is making it. So we'll make it good. Capture everyone's attention, but no, it'll be help us see, like, well, if we do this revenue option and not that one, what's the impact on the numbers? And then we can see it in that model, and we can say, welcome to our world in finance. So that brings us to the final slide that has the motion.
All right. It's now time for the public comment portion of this public hearing. Please recognize that we'll not be able to interact with you or answer any questions during the segment, but your comments will become part of the public record on the subject and we'll thoughtfully note your input. Please keep your comments respectful. Please state your name and city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, so no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone who didn't sign up to speak who wishes to speak on this subject? Second call, is there anyone who didn't sign up who wishes to speak on this subject? Third call, is there anyone who didn't sign up to speak and wishes to speak on the subject? All right. Council, now it's time for questions. Do you have any questions? Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can you sort of provide a brief overview of what goes into developing the forecast? Like, how do you know what's going to happen in 4 years?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Well, I'd probably preface it by saying you would do, when you do a forecast, what you're doing is you're applying the trends of right now to the data going forward. So it's not that I know what's going to happen in 4 years, but we can see what 4 years from now would look like if the trends of today held. So one of probably the first step we would do is just look at do historical trend analysis and see, like for sales tax, for example, how is it growing? You know, we can look at that from month to month. So what are those trends? And then there's also, King County has an economist that issues forecasts. So there's also like the state, so we can look at what information they're working off of that can inform our forecasts. So it's a little bit of looking at our own data, paying attention to what's happening outside the city, you know, with the county and those things, and then we bring that together, and then that would form the forecast. But I just would reemphasize that we're applying the information we have today, and then that's why we do budget amendments, because 10 months from now, that information is going to be different. So it's always when you forecast, the more years you go out, the less valuable those years are. So because you don't know the future, basically. But when we forecast, we'll take what we know today, apply those trends to the next few years, and then if those are alarming, then you know you can take action. And if they're, which is really the purpose of the forecast.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That was meant to be a softball, man.
Oh.
Believe it or not, is it just more of like, well, inflation is 2.8 or bond yields are this or whatever, but it's not like. I'm just always wondering if anybody ever goes back and says, gee, I wonder, how did we hit them? I've got airport on the brain, and I'm just always stunned at how they can forecast 20 years out within like a percent.
Right.
But other things, it's a crapshoot. So I just was wondering if there was any accepted, boundaries for what you guys do, and that's all. I'm trying to be.
No, when I think of forecasts, I think of finance people doing forecasts in 2019. So they might have had their trends that year, but they wouldn't know what's coming the next year. So,
Brother, you ain't whistling Dixie. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Along those lines, so one thing that are you saying that you can't include, let's say our planning department has a backlog of pretty significant projects coming forward. You can't really feasibly put that into your forecast because you don't know. In other words, there are things that can come forward to interrupt a challenging forecast, but you're not allowed to take these other projects that are coming forward that might make a difference.
right. So I think, when we forecast, especially for the general fund's all operations. So we're not really too concerned with projects. Forecasting for surface water management, we'd probably have to, leave out the capital piece or have an average or something like that. Because, like you said, timing, a project can change when it's going to start. That it's hard to forecast for those.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? And looking at Jeremy, Councilmember Nutting. Okay, you're good? All right. So I'll now close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Matt, I think. Thank you.
Yeah. I move to enact draft ordinance number 25-092 relating to municipal finance and amending the 2025-2026 biennial budget adopted in ordinance number 1813.
Do I have a second? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz for the second. All right, any discussion? Councilmember Harris.
I would like to make a motion to require a supermajority of the council to approve use of the contingency.
Do I have a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Any other discussion? Councilmember Mahoney.
I just want to commend staff, your leadership, City Manager Jeff, as we were talking earlier about the fact that you really address the tough issues. And it's always a challenge, and it doesn't make the job easy. And I just want to thank you for that. You were, when we were discussing options and you brought up the biennial budget, I thought it was a great suggestion. I'd actually been told otherwise before, and I'd never been convinced of it. I just thought your leadership here in this, in a very difficult time, I want to reiterate, in the last 5 years, if you look it up, inflation rate is 25%, and our revenue maybe went up 3%. And that's not counting some of the things we may have done otherwise. But it's a tough window, and it's to come in and walk in being the bearer of bad news on a regular basis is got to be a damn tough thing. And I just want to commend you and your team and the rest of the staff for the great work you did in this. Thank you.
Councilmember Grace Matsui, and then Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Thank you for the presentation. I hope that with this opportunity for us to make amendments, to look at updated information and data, that it goes to show that you don't set it 2 years in advance and forget about it, like a Ron Popeil commercial. You actually have to come back and talk about the budget, update it on a regular basis, whether it's a 2-year budget or a 1-year budget. And so thank you so much for making sure that it's in the forefront and that we aren't neglecting something that really needs to be nurtured and a regular basis. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I think you've done a wonderful job of kind of laying this out. And I think it's always been understood that a biennial budget still needs an update, but it's a lot easier to do an update than it is to start from scratch and try to do it all over again. I worked in the state legislature on the staff for the Senate Judiciary Committee, and every year There are amendments to the budget that change the various programs, and boy, we're going to see some this year in the state legislature again, because some of the assumptions that were made just didn't hold true, but they were made in good faith. And I think that, you're doing the best that you can under the circumstances. Keep giving us the news that we need to hear, and you're doing a great job of that, and I appreciate it. I think this is a good, solid set of amendments to the budget, and I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you.
Before I call in you, Councilmember Harris, checking with the other two council members. Councilmember Nutting, do you have a question or discussion? No? Councilmember Oxiger? Okay. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. I want to highlight something that Director Friend said about politicization. I was struck by that. I wish we had enough money to be politicized. But the thing that the politics are that we focus on now. My mentor really stressed behavioral economics. People are dressed up. It's festive. There's never a good time to be the Grinch. Well, some of us are dressed up. But the thing is, I have seen this movie for 30 years. What the politicization, I said that right, is that everybody, when you're in local government, your entire bias, is to promote a positive image in a way that if you're in a state legislature or you can have debates and you're not worried about image. But there's just this constant thing of trying to put the best face forward of the city. And that is what makes it happen every 5 years. You can't manifest a sustainable budget through positive mental attitude. But the focus on this time will be different. Thank goodness we hired a new city manager, or it's a new year or whatever. That contributes to it happening over and over again, because people always will be, that's just what humans do. They always think that this time will be different. I'm special. Now is a new year. And it's human nature. I think we are doing so many great first steps this year. We do a great first step every 5 years, okay? And we never get to step 2. And we should have the humility to recognize that and just, this is fine, but it's a pattern. And we should have that humility to be able to say, okay, let's just relax a little bit. But just speaking, just in closing, this entire process, we're going to be talking about the economic development grant. It's backwards. It echoes 3 economic development interventions since I've lived here. And I wish people could understand that this is kind of a Groundhog Day and have a little empathy for me, having watched the same movie over and over again. I want to be positive, but there is something about this that is just it's such a recursive deal. And anyway.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. So I'll be a representative of someone who disagrees on that a little bit, and I feel like we're headed in a different direction. It's a different season. It's post-COVID. We've got different challenges, and in the same way we do have to eat food every morning, there are repetitive exercises to solving problems, and so we've got to make good decisions to be healthy moving forward, and we're making some good decisions. So I am the eternal optimist, but we're existing here, and we've got good leadership, strong leadership, good transition going, and I believe in these people to solve these problems. I believe in the staff, and I believe in this leadership, and I believe in the people at this dais. And I believe in those that are going to be here in just a few more weeks. So I feel these people are undaunted and will forge forward and do well for the city. And I am unconcerned about naysaying and doomsaying. So this is good progress, and I appreciate the candid approach here tonight, and I appreciated being showed the truth, and it gives us something to work on and look forward to. We've got lots of strategic and innovative people up here, down there. So, and thank you all for being that way. All right, so we have a motion and a second and discussion. It looks like I'm going to wrap up discussion here and take it to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Oxiger, Councilmember Harris. Oh, it's unanimous. Okay. Thank you. Motion passes. All right. Okay, on to public hearing number 2. This is in regard to the Wesley Master Plan. The purpose of this item is for council to consider the approval of the Master Plan Amendment application titled Wesley Homes Phase 5. Please note that this is a quasi-judicial public hearing. As such, the council has added responsibilities, and there will be some notable formalities. I will now open the public hearing. We will begin with a staff presentation. Senior Planner Jason Wakey. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, everyone. My name is Jason Wakey, as mentioned, a Senior Planner, and our applicants, H. Bill, will be following me with a presentation as well tonight. So, let's see, where's the clicker? What is a master plan? What is the purpose? Pursuant to the city's municipal code, the purpose of a master plan is to define the development of property, promote compatibility with neighboring areas, and benefit the community with flexibility and innovation. Here's a nice illustration created by A.H. Bill that gives you an overview of the entire Wesley campus. In the forefront here, you can see what has recently been completed of Wesley. You've got the Gardens building, the Garden Cottages, Brownstone building. North of 216th, going across on the Skyway, you have the existing terrace building and terrace cottages. Back in 2015, a master plan was passed by council that allowed the first 3 phases of construction, which is the area in the forefront that has been completed. There's a current phase going on improving the interior of the terrace building, and now we're on to what is the subject of tonight, is the 5th phase. And that, if you look on the upper right-hand corner, the Creekside building is the main centerpiece there. There's also a smaller maintenance building, some recreational improvements, landscaping, etc. Now this is looking at the northern area north of 216th. You've got the terrace building on the left, terrace cottages. You've got, on the right-hand side in white, you've got the layout of the new proposed Creekside building and the maintenance building north of that. There are some carports in brown north of the terrace building. That's going on existing parking area. You have recreational areas that they're adding, exceeding the amount that's required by the city. There's a little blue area there in the middle. That is a new pickleball court. You've got, I think to the left, bocce ball court, and then north, a barbecue area. North of the Creekside building, you have a dog run, and you also have walking paths through an abundant amount of landscaping, more than what's required by the city. So, a little bit more about the landscaping. So, yes, there's more than what's required by the city. What's required by the city are the perimeter buffer landscape strips, 10-foot wide landscape strips. That's for screening the right-of-way, as well as to the east we have some multifamily. And so that landscaping must comply with the municipal code, and there are strict standards that it must comply with. And staff has reviewed, I've reviewed, and feel like it is good. It is sufficient for master plan approval at this time. It'll continue to be reviewed with civil plans during the building permit phase as well. And there's additional planting, as I mentioned, that some of it's voluntary, and A.H. Bill will speak on that a little bit more as well. This is looking north from the parking lot adjacent to 216th at the new Creekside building. It is a new 106-unit independent living housing building. It will be close to 65 feet in height. The lower level will be a parking garage with 106 parking spaces. There's a new maintenance building I mentioned before, in carports. All new buildings will have a combined footprint of approximately 55,000 square feet. I mentioned the recreation areas, more than what's required by the city, and landscaping, again, more than that's required by the city. And it includes over 100 trees. Now, this is the total count for the entire Wesley campus. The Creekside there is circled in red. That is the new project that tonight we're concerned most with. So, in total, there will be 497 independent living units, 50 assisted living units, 26 memory care units, and 72 skilled nursing facility units. And those are actual units, walled units. There was a question about that last week. So, the decision criteria for approval. Number one, the master plan development plan includes a general phasing timeline, and A.H. Bill will speak to that in their presentation. Two, the plan meets or exceeds the current regulations for critical areas. It was reviewed by staff, and it does comply. There is sufficient capacity and infrastructure in the transportation system, and that was reviewed by staff, and it does comply. It is sufficient. There is sufficient capacity within public services, such as water, sewer, and stormwater. That, again, was reviewed by staff, and it is sufficient. The plan contains architectural design and site design standards, landscaping, provisions for open space, et cetera, and that has all been reviewed by staff. It will continue to be reviewed during the building permit phase as well as design review phase. That's a separate application. The plan incorporates crime prevention through environmental design, and that was reviewed by our police department, and it was approved. So, and then number 7, it actually does not apply to this use. There are no laboratory uses. This will be the motion after we get through everything.
All right, thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the record. My name is Wayne Carlson. I'm with AHBL. And I am a planner, and we are providing civil structural planning and landscape architectural services on this project. Also here with us this evening for any questions you might have would be Steve Nornis, who will also be sharing in this presentation with me. Heather Dart, Executive Director of the campus with Wesley, she's here in the audience, as well as Christine Tremaine, who is the Vice President of Marketing and Development with Wesley. So my presentation, in terms of being respectful of your time, I watched the study session that you had last week, and so Steve and I have really fashioned our presentation really to address the questions that the council had without trying to duplicate just the summary of the project that Jason and city staff has already done. So this slide is a quick summary showing our consistency with the development standards and those citations. And so again, we're proposing to be meeting the height actually being below the adopted standard, meeting setbacks. You'll see impervious surfaces we're about 20% less than what we would be in terms of what we're replacing. Parking, meeting the parking standards. Recreation space, we are proposing essentially about double the common recreation space. Private recreation area, and then perimeter buffers. And I'll address perimeter buffers a little bit more on the next slide. Councilmember Harris had some questions regarding landscape that I also wanted to address, and this slide advancer's got a kind of handy a little red light here, so hopefully people can kind of see this, but oops. Maybe not.
There it is.
There you go. Yeah, took a second to warm up, but one of the questions was related to tree replacement and how many of these trees are being placed on being furnished as part of this design. So a total of 99 additional trees are going to be provided on the site. Now there will be 22 trees removed, and the city's standard is a 3-to-1 replacement. So of those 99 trees, 66 would have been required anyway. So, and then 81 trees essentially are being proposed exclusive of required right-of-way, buffer, and parking lot internal landscaping. So 18 additional trees beyond what would otherwise be required are included within the landscape plans that our landscape architect designed. In addition, there's more than 2,100 shrubs and ground cover, plugs and plants that are going to be part of that landscape design. So with this, I want to turn it over to Steve just to kind of talk about some of the other elements that were addressed in last week's presentation for you. Oop, there you go.
Good evening. My name's Steve Nornis. I work with Senior Housing Partners. I've been the developer on the Wesley campus. I started with this in 2017, similar to your time, and been working with every phase, and really glad to be here tonight. Just real briefly, Wesley started in 1944, and it was a place that we wanted to establish for retirement, where seniors could live, and of all faiths will be recognized. Kevin Anderson would like to be here tonight, but he's on vacation. But Kevin has taken the torch, and as we've gone through, we said we're going to need to remodel the campus, make it more modern, and make it more available for seniors. And so that's what we've done and made the changes. And so and there are pictures just about lifestyle. And as we are developing, it's just now bricks and mortars, but again, it's developing a place to live and a place where people can enjoy life with community and choice. So this is a picture that goes back to 2017 before. Just for those this is what the gardens was in the middle, cottages surrounded the rest, the terrace is to the right, and the green building is the care center, which we're going to demolish and build the new independent living. And then you saw it earlier, but here's another look of the site. We really tried to set the campus up to look at the Puget Sound, and this is all remodeled with skilled nursing. A question came up from last meeting, are the skilled rooms private? We have 72 skilled beds, and they're all private rooms in the care center. And this new building here has assisted living, memory care, independent living, and we have townhomes and brownstones. We also put in the bridge, which connects the campus. And you've seen this slide before. We're talking about the upper part, the creek side. So architecturally, this campus, this new design is going to match the rest of the campus. The exterior facades, and this is an evening picture. Every apartment's going to have porches and balconies. Upper left-hand corner, you can see that's going to be an area where activities can be. It's a lounge, and so people can be up there entertaining and meeting with friends. I think the reason why are we doing it, there's a wait list. Currently, there are 390 people on a wait list today. The market studies have said if we go out and do see what's available, there's a need for additional 360 apartments to fill. And it really fits with our mission statement to continue providing choice in the area. The project timing is we like to start in the first quarter, second quarter, April of 26. It's a 19-month construction. The overall project cost is $93 million, and the construction portion of it is just under $60 million. And then the real benefit to the community, at peak time, Walsh Construction, as it said, it's going to be at least 60 full-time employees. The housing, typically in our model, 70% of the people who move in come from 10 to 15-mile radius. So that means 70 people or 70 homes will be moving over that will be resold. We're going to complete the master plan. We continue to be good neighbors for serving residents and number of employees. So really this is about community. It's about housing. It's jobs. It's about completing the campus. And it's really about continuing the legacy of Reverend Lawrence Stanley. So just glad to be here tonight, and thank you for having us present.
Thank you. Do you have another component of the presentation right now? No. That's all done? Okay. So the next up is council consideration. So I'm going to read following are the rules of order in conducting tonight's public hearing, which is quasi-judicial. All council members should now give consideration as to whether they have 1, a demonstrated bias or prejudice for or against any party to the proceedings, 2, a direct or indirect monetary interest in the outcome of the proceedings, 3, a prejudgment of the issue prior to hearing the facts on the record, or 4, ex parte contact with any individual excluding administrative staff with regard to an issue prior to the hearing. If any council member should answer in the affirmative, then the council member should state the reason for their answer at this time so that the mayor may inquire of the administration as to whether a violation of the appearance of fairness doctrine exists. So, have any of you had any discussion on this topic, or do you feel you have an actual or the appearance of a conflict of interest? So I'm going to call on each of you individually. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I don't believe it's a conflict, but I would at least let people know that my mother is on the waiting list at Wesley, one of those 380.
That's fine. Thanks for disclosing that, but that's fine. You can participate.
Councilmember Mahoney.
I do not.
Councilmember Grace Matsui.
I do not.
Councilmember Nutting.
I do not.
Councilmember Harris.
Nope.
Councilmember Oxiger.
I do not.
Thank you. So now it is time for public comment portion of this public hearing. Please recognize that we'll not be able to interact with you or answer any questions during this segment, but your comments will become part of the public record on the subject, and we will thoughtfully note your input. All comments by proponents, opponents, or the public shall be made from the podium, and any individual making comments shall first give their name and the city in which they reside. Individuals will have 3 minutes to speak. No comments shall be made from any other location, and anyone making out-of-order comments shall be subject to removal from the meeting. There will be no demonstrations during or at the conclusion of anyone's presentation. It is not necessary to be a proponent or opponent in order to speak. If you consider yourself neither a proponent or opponent, please speak during the proponent portion and identify yourself as neither a proponent nor an opponent. Do we have a sign-up sheet? Okay. So since we did not have anyone sign up to speak, I'm going to ask, is there anyone who who would like to speak on the subject but did not realize they needed to sign up in order to speak? Second call. I think I have actually 4 calls on this, right? Just 3. Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak who did not sign up to speak? Third call. Is there anyone who wishes to speak who did not sign up to speak? Okay. Now, I will inquire of the administration as to whether there have been any misstatements of fact or whether the administration wishes to introduce any material as to the subjects raised by proponents or opponents or during the presentation, or alter in any regard initial recommendations. No, thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Please, questions only at this time. Councilmember Mahoney and then Councilmember Harris.
So I was reading the letters that you sent out recently, I think it was yesterday. And the only question I have is particularly from the one of the tribes. This is a previously developed site we're talking about, correct?
Correct.
And was this type of exploration for indigenous archaeological evidence done before, or was that something that wasn't done in the past when this maybe had been built?
That's a good question. I don't know if it was done in the past. This is a somewhat standard comment that goes out to for a lot of our projects. There's another project that we're working on that we had to address that as well. As a condition, can I say that? A condition for the Madeira. For another project, we conditioned it for the developer to get an archaeological survey. Sorry. So, and I believe that was a request by the Snoqualmie tribe, was it?
Yes. So that's my question. I assume that request is going to be honored. Obviously, what would be the process should they discover something?
Typically, they would stop work and then follow the protocol, which I'm not totally familiar with, but they would have to stop and
similar to what we had at Soundview Park.
Whether there's a survey, even if they don't find anything, they're still required to do an inadvertent discovery plan. So a plan is put together on what will be done if something is found. So that's part of a standard requirement.
All right, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. Just along, and this may just be me nerding out, is there anything, just looking at the property, that are all the surveys, are they similar? In other words, is there something unique about the property that might cause delay to the project just in doing the evaluation? Or is it just pretty
So we wouldn't know until an evaluation is done. If an evaluation is done, because this is a heavily already developed site, as staff, I wouldn't expect to see an issue at this site. But like was mentioned, Snoqualmie Tribe puts that request or recommendation on every project that they get noticed on.
Okay, and the other thing is, does the comment from ecology regarding arsenic, does that pose any potential challenge? It came in kind of recently.
That's another common comment that we get for a lot of projects, and it's not a big issue. They will have to go through the process of cleanup.
Okay, but it's just a known process.
It is, yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Checking with Councilmember Nutting. No, you're good? Okay. Any other questions? All right. I will now close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Councilmember Mahoney.
I move to approve draft resolution 25-120, approving the master plan amendment for the proposed Wesley Homes project, LUA 2025-0026, subject to conditions set forth in the resolution.
Do I have a second? Looks like I have a second from Councilmember Nutting. Thank you very much. Discussion. Councilmember Harris.
Aside from my, just concerns, because the creek side is touchy for me, if it turns out, analogous to the Terrace project, it will be spectacular. It's been I can't say enough good things about it. Took a long time, COVID and so forth, but the inside is a place that you'd want to live, and it just, it's just a wonderful thing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember Mahoney and then Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Wesley's a great neighbor in our community. Throughout this process, every development's been an upgrade in this community, particularly this being on the other side with the terrace, and the fact that we all lobbied to get this, the Sky Bridge, which ensured their safety, is going to be a great connection. So I'm thrilled for Wesley itself and its residents and the additional people that they're going to be adding to their community. I welcome in advance because I won't be here to do it later.
Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I want to echo a lot of those sentiments. Everything that Wesley has built has been really, really well done, well executed. The building of that Sky Bridge was amazing to watch those beams go up. I remember being there. And, it really, even though you were building across a busy street, it was of a minimal disruption when you did it. So I think the process by which Wesley has taken on these projects and executed them really is to be commended. It's good, and 160 more units of independent living is just great. So I'm sure the wait list will be very glad. Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Looking down the line. All right, well, mine, I am amazed at the hurdles that a developer needs to overcome that we commonly don't even see come through our emails, which we did this week in regard to this. And it gives me, and especially your answers tonight, this is common. We get this all the time. It breeds a new appreciation for cultural and environmental protection, the processes that we've got going on all the time, that when something goes in and something happens, all this stuff, all these hurdles have been overcome. I appreciate the work on behalf of developers. It's so daunting to get a project done with that in front of you, but it's just a reminder to the community, all of the boxes that are being checked when something does happen and something comes into the community and the environment is disrupted. Wesley's a fantastic partner, and the residents there make great neighbors. Very excited. Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Looks like it is unanimous. Motion passes. Congratulations. Thank you for your time. All right. Next up is new business, and the first item is a grant acceptance and economic development grant from the Port. The purpose of this item is to seek council acceptance of Port of Seattle Phase 3 grant funding. And we're going to begin with a presentation with City Manager Catherine Caffrey and Economic Development Consultant Dan Ernessy.
And I'm not sure, Mayor, if you want to call up both items since they're sort of related, or...
Well, I was going to open with this presentation, have the discussion and vote, and then skip the presentation part on the next item. We'll just go straight to a motion and discussion.
Oh, okay, so then we'll do the two presentations back to back.
You'll do the whole presentation as a group right now.
Sounds great. So I'll start this. So this is really two items. The first one is accepting a grant, and then the next item is what we're going to do with that money if the council chooses to accept it. So you all are probably familiar with this because for several years the city has received these funds. The Port of Seattle does a 2-year economic development grant program You can see what the goals are there. It is available to the 38 cities in King County that are not Seattle. It is not competitive in the sense that how much money you're allocated is a formula. Although it is not competitive, there are requirements as to what you can and can't use it for. In previous years, the city has used it for studies. This is not a study. This is actual implementation, so this is hiring someone to do the work. So you'll see here, this is the grant formula. What the city would receive from the port is $68,800. It requires a 25% match from the city. That those funds were included in the proposed budget out of professional services. And then another $17,000 that can be an in-kind match. So the total value is about $103,000, and the total kind of cash value is around $86,000. So because this year we were not eligible to use these funds for a study, and I think there's definitely some study fatigue, we're actually looking at hiring someone to really go through some focused downtown work. As you all may recall, the city does not have dedicated staff for economic development, so this is actually a really positive way for us to get the benefit of having someone in our organization doing this work without having to hire the full-time employee, which at this time the city does not have the funds for. I also want to talk a little bit about where this focus area came from. So we frequently, and we heard it Tuesday night, hear about vacant lots downtown, and we hear a lot about revitalizing the Marine View corridor. And so what this is really doing is getting updated information on who owns property there, because some of that has changed hands over several years, and we don't have good records on that. Really getting into contact with business owners as well as prospective real estate developers. And the hope is to really get insight from what their needs are to incentivize development there to inform council policy decisions. So occasionally I'll hear comments of, looking at zoning downtown and things like that. It's important that we know if the council's going to embark on that, somebody's going to be there at the other end to take advantage of that. So this is really working on that. So it's a lot of real outreach, candidly, a lot of conversations, a lot of talking to people, a lot of sitting with them to understand why are they not developing, what has stopped them in the past. So it's pretty time-intensive work. The timeline is that if the council accepted the funds, we would really start in January and expend them over the year. The deliverables are, again, really, really valuable information that could then, like I said, inform what the council chooses to do, especially in light of the strategic plan, where I think it won't be a surprise to anybody that economic development, downtown, vacant lots, I fully anticipate is going to show up there in some way. So this is sort of giving us an edge on that. So I'm going to transition over to Dan, and let me kind of, can you give him this? Talk about what his role is. So Dan Ernessy has a consulting firm where he has, he'll talk about his background, but really over about 20 years of experience in economic development in this region, which I think you all are familiar with. And so Dan and I began meeting probably about a year ago, talking about how Des Moines could really start tackling this when we did not have the funding for a director level position. And so this is a arrangement where Dan would really kind of function as a fractional employee for us at that really high level. So he would be executing upon both this grant as well as there are some additional services in here to look at like Pack Highway and some other areas that are separate from the grant but are funds that we would do in his total contract. So the contract by and large includes the port grant project, but then there's some other items we added on there as well. So I'll let him talk a little bit about his agreement and then we can answer questions about both of them. Dan?
Thank you very much. As Catherine said, Dan Ernessy. I'm familiar with Des Moines from birth, and I'm very happy to be here. So thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members, staff, and public who have stuck around. I thought when I came in there were a lot of people for my presentation, but so the proposed contract, as was said, is a flexible leadership partnership delivering tailored, director-level strategic economic development guidance without the overhead of full-time position. Cities around Washington are having the same struggles that you are having with finances because of the 1% cap, largely. And I have been serving cities for 15 years, and I see a real need, especially for small cities, to have just professional economic development support, but they can't afford it. And so if I can be of service in that way in this stage of my career, I think it's just a great opportunity for me and a great way to serve these cities. So the contract details are basically, it runs through the end of 2026, not to exceed $96,000, which kind of in my head is roughly about right for a city. It's about $3 per person who live in the city. You know, it's just, that's an investment that is kind of a logical investment of a baseline. The positive with this particular contract is almost entirely funded through this grant with the Port of Seattle. This is me. My experience, successful is one of those words that every project we did made money. I was an employee, and thus I'm still working. 15 years of economic development leadership for cities after that, so about a decade in real estate development and 15 years specific expertise, especially in transit-oriented development and highway corridor redevelopment, and I've done a lot of work with groups like Urban Land Institute and was on a national panel that examined how to do healthy highway corridors. Interesting facts, grad of Des Moines Elementary, Pacific, I would say junior high, Mount Rainier High School, and University of Washington. I believe in one-page strategic plans and spend a lot of time trying to boil down thoughts and do really concise statements. And I love metaphors, and I love Venn diagrams. I'm going to share a Venn diagram in a moment, but the metaphor is that of economic development being a lot like a surfer, in that one can't control all the macro events that are happening in an economy. But a good surfer, like when they feel the waves starting to surge, they try to just get their surfboard up and going so then that can capture the energy that is in that system. And some of those waves are positive, some are negative. You know, sometimes it can be something like the pandemic, sometimes it can be something like interest rate changes and inflation, sometimes it can be a big macro effect like online shopping and how that is affecting our retail corridors and downtowns. So the Venn diagram is one that I've developed over time to just talk about how I think economic development works, and I call it disciplines of an economic catalyst. I like the word catalyst more than a developer because, as we just witnessed with the Wesley Group, they're the ones really doing the development and doing the investment. My job really is the guy up on top of the kind of the cliff with the big boulder and just giving it enough of a nudge that the private sector and the market economy can really take over and the gravity can move things forward. So what are those real key projects that a city can do, for example, that will then, like the first domino falling, can knock over a lot of things and attract a lot of investment to the city? So 3 things I see. One, infrastructure. You got to put the tomato cage on the tomato when it's small. And it's the same thing with infrastructure. I mean, the one we have so prevalent in our world right now is light rail. And congratulations on the opening of the new station and what I would call Midway Drive-In. And it's awesome. And but that's, you know, obviously overkill for the size of the population around you know, Highline College. Right now, but it is anticipated that that will be serving a much larger population as the Puget Sound region grows. So that's something that is a system that has been built to support healthy growth. Placemaking, the one on the bottom, things that really create tangible growth and tangible value. And the example I always give is a farmer's market. We moved a farmer's market into a downtown. I can tell you that immediately the apartments around started to advertise that they were walking distance from the Sunday farmer's market, because they understood that that amenity added value for their residents, and it allowed them to, I don't know if they upped the rent, but it allowed them to keep tenants longer and keep happier tenants. And they probably, overall, those that are closer to amenities do charge more rent. And so those kind of things that, I'm pretty fussy about placemaking. It has to really be tangible. It has to create tangible things. Supportive businesses, it's a lot of businesses you can't provide like hand-holding for every business in the city. So you really have to be concentrated on those that broaden economic opportunity, create more jobs, create better jobs, and those that, oftentimes fit in those other categories, that the placemaking business, the quarter deck isn't maybe the biggest business, isn't employing a lot of people, but it has a little something that really helps the city of Des Moines, right? So those are the kinds of specific targeted businesses that I think you want to support. Now, the overarching thing that you do along top of that is tell stories. And the result of those stories should be to attract investment. And so, just the examples I put up there, but building systems, you might be telling the story, hey, did you hear about the light rail station that just opened in Des Moines? It's now allowing us to get to downtown and get into SeaTac jobs and so forth very predictably in, X number of minutes. And it's further helping people who don't want to have a car or can't afford to have a car to really easily have transportation at a reasonable price. Tangible value placemaking. Hey, did you hear about our new stairs that are going to be able to walk right down to the marina, and you're going to have a little slide or whatever? I'm not sure what exactly you're having. You're obviously having some stormwater management, but I probably wouldn't talk about that. The storytelling for the supporting business. Well, we've got these. Wesley has been just an investor in our community for decades, and they're continuing to invest. They've found that their investment in the past has paid off. We've supported them in that. They're investing another close to $100 million. That property, once built, will probably be worth more like $140 million. That goes right on the tax rolls, and we're so proud of that. So it's not like you're making up stories about this. You're telling stories about the very economic development work that you're already doing. So that's what I do. And that's what I see and what I look forward to doing here, both by providing support generally. You're in the middle of a strategic planning process, which is fantastic. And I think over the next year, my hope is that there would be an economic development strategy that would really complement that and really take advantage of some of the assets that are in the city. Evaluate marketing, recruiting leads for cities. A lot of, you talk in economic development, most of your work is in existing business, helping them expand, helping them invest, helping them survive sometimes. But there's also that kind of fun job of the recruiting. And so as there are, I will be able to provide that service as appropriate and collaborate with economic regional partners, everybody from the big people like Greater Seattle Partners to the chamber and so forth locally, and then perform other duties as signed in writing. And then as City Manager Catherine has already said, the Port of Seattle grant will be really the bulk of the work. this is the proposed motion that they had me put in here, and any discussion, I, along with city manager, are happy to answer for both motions.
So, so there are two motions, one presentation. We're going to take them one at a time. So this first motion is about accepting the grant. So we'll open for questions to either one of them with regard to the acceptance of that grant. Any questions? Okay, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Is the port putting any restrictions on the money in the way that we use it? Is there anything that, is sort of somewhere in the background, and have we looked closely at it to make sure that, the port is not always our friend?
Well, we've actually received this, they agree, but we've actually received this grant from them multiple times in the past. It's pretty flexible, but when I, on this presentation, went through sort of the encompassing what the work would be, that was our application. So as long as we produce that work and deliver it to them, it qualifies. Also, we cannot do a study. So they do have a rule that you can only do studies, I think, like once every several times you get the grant. So the last effort that was done prior to my arrival was a study. So this is really, actually, I think, more appealing in that we're actually going to get somebody like executing.
What was that study, and what happened to that data?
Well, I'd be happy to share it. So that study was done. It's about sort of general downtown development. It was done, candidly, during the transition period, and I think the work product quality was not, I think, as helpful as it could have been, and it absolutely did not reflect the entire council's views. I would be happy to share it with you all, and I think you will get a sense of what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Do I have a motion? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, go ahead.
I move to accept the grant funding from the Port of Seattle in the amount of $68,800 and authorize the city manager to sign the Economic Development Partnership Agreement, parentheses P-00322-557, close parentheses, substantially in the form as attached.
Do I have a second? Second, Councilmember Mahoney. Any discussion? Okay. Councilmembers? All right. Well, my comment is this is exactly the type of thing that ports are supposed to do, according to the RCWs, fostering economic growth, stimulating businesses, promoting tourism, and using its powers to encourage development. So I appreciate that's exactly what we're using this for. So with no further discussion, take it to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Oxford, Councilmember Grace Matsui, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself all opposed. Councilmember Harris, motion passes. We move to the second subject. We've had the presentation. This is in regard to the Economic Development Support Services contract with Dan Ernest. Do you have any questions? Councilmember Harris.
Good to see you again, sir. Are you currently employed with the city of Everett?
I am.
Okay. Will you continue in that? Is it, I don't know how this works, so is it that kind of normal for your world?
Well, it's not normal. It's a situation where because of financial constraints at the city of Everett, they suggested that I could go to a lower pay. I'm at a part-time pay rate there, so I could grow my consulting business simultaneously. So it's with full disclosure that I'm going forward, but it is unusual.
Have you had discussions about this being or do you think of this as a one-time kind of a deal, or is an ongoing renewable thing, or haven't you?
I'll answer that one. So the contract before you is a one-time. And I think what we want to see is how this goes and see what kind of direction and plan comes out of it, and then the council can give us instruction on how to move forward.
And one last thing, you mentioned transit-oriented development. How do you feel about a shuttle in the south end of town to supplement the light rail? You mentioned it as being you used the word, I believe, overkill of that light rail station relative. I assume you meant to.
Councilmember Harris?
Or is that just?
I would relegate that to a different discussion. Right now, we're just trying to decide if we're, unless you substantially feel like this is going to affect your opinion on whether you want to vote in favor of this or not. It's a different discussion.
It's a weird thing because it's sort of a job interview. I mean, it's unusual for us to have a presenter who is not actually within the employ of the city of Des Moines. So I withdraw. Thank you.
Do you have a comment?
We actually do have consultants that work for us for a whole variety of areas. We have a consultant that works for us for some strategic communications. We have them in other areas. So this is actually not an unusual arrangement. Because there's so much discussion about economic development, I thought it would be great for you to hear from the actual person that would be doing the work.
Okay, I'm going to move to the next comment. We are still right now on questions, so Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Mr. Hennessy, does your consulting firm have staff other than you that will be working on this?
At this time not, but I anticipate recommended to the city that if there are other either people or companies that could fulfill the overall scope better than I could, that the city would contract with them directly rather than through my company, so they could get direct service and carry over. Especially with the couple of the port grant deliverables, I think that you don't necessarily want to pay your director to do all the work, and so anywhere there can be efficiencies or cost savings for the city that's strategic, I will definitely recommend that. But not right now. I don't have any staff.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Any other questions? Looking up to Councilman. Okay. All right. We'll move forward to the motion. Do I have a motion, Councilmember Mahoney?
I move to approve the professional services consultant agreement with Ernest C. Consulting for the economic development services in the amount of not to exceed $96,000, and further authorize the city manager to sign said contract substantially in the form as submitted.
Do I have a second? Looks like a Deputy Mayor Steinmetz for the second discussion. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think this is a subject matter that the city needed to address at a professional level, and has needed to address that at a professional level for a very long time. As indicated, all small cities are going through very similar issues, and trying to pay another director-level salary to bring in somebody on the staff is just really difficult, and we can't find the funding for it. And I think this is a wonderful solution. I am very pleased by your connection to Des Moines. I remember the interviews from earlier, and I have no doubt that you really love this city and you will do the best you absolutely can for it. Thank you. I intend to vote for the contract.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Councilmember Harris and then Councilmember Mahoney.
I want Mr. Ernestine to know how much I appreciate him, and I will be voting no because for the same reason comments I made during the budget. This is entirely backwards. It is a groundhog movie that I've seen over and over again. I will note that our last city manager had 3 degrees from Cambridge, and we've gone through all kinds of stuff, and I believe, it's unusual thing for us to have any kind of input into hiring of staff. But I think the public needs to be sold on what we plan to do, supposedly the strategic plan. But over the course of the year, we've done everything and then put that at the very end of the pipe. And so, to my mind, it makes it basically cosmetic. And I don't feel great about it. The things that need to be done in the study, which the public, those are really useful things to do. There is valuable data gathering that should be done, but this is far too expansive. And it's the kind of thing I am having these echoes of the Holmes Group and Peter and this turning into the never-ending story. And just not
Okay.
there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mahoney.
I have to be honest, I have one concern. It's the choice of college you went to. You could have gone east and had a much finer education, but, there are those that, we tolerate. I'm just kidding. No, and our mayor knows this, particularly as coming through the leadership in the council. I think we were that voice a lot of times trying to sell this city. I was meeting different developers and people that might be interested in investing in the community, facilitating meetings with them, kind of selling the city. To have something more templated is going to be a great benefit. We were kind of inventing it along the way, and we did do bad, and we had a couple good chances at some of the development. Of course, COVID was kind of a stick in that, but to be able to have something a little bit more concrete to sell the city, because we do have a lot to sell, and I think where we're headed is in the right direction. I was impressed with your services, or what you offered us when you applied for another position, and saw the experience and the value you get that. And I know the city manager and I had a couple conversations about you and what you could provide to the city, and I agreed with it. I think you can bring a great asset to our community. The bonus is you grew up here, you know it. You do want to see the city succeed more than just what I say the average consultant we might hire. And I think that's a good thing. Repeat or no repeat, you offer something in a changing time and a skill set that this city needs, and you come at the right place at the right time, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to support it. Thank you.
Right. Okay, my comments, after reading the scope of work, which the scope was up on this slide there, the bullet points of the things that this contract's going to provide. So I am so excited to have this support. I appreciate the character and the candid information about, just standing there offering, I'm not going to take a cut of any kind of revenue here that I don't need to. That says a lot about the kind of service that we're going to get here. And honestly, I think that this work is going to inform our strategic plan. I don't think it's an inappropriate order. And I'm thankful that we're at this juncture and we can make this decision tonight. So, without further ado, all in favor, raise your right hand. Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Oxgar, Councilmember Grace Matsui, Councilmember Mahoney, Deputy Mayor Steinmetz, and myself, all opposed. Councilmember Harris, motion passes. Thank you so much. Dan, we're excited to have you aboard. Appreciate it. All right, next up is new agenda items for consideration. I think you've heard me talk about this several times. This is an opportunity for council members to present something they'd like to have appear on a future agenda. Any council members have something they would like to propose? All right, moving on. Next up is an opportunity for council member to give us their reports. And tonight we're going to start with Councilmember Grace Matsui.
Thank you.
I had the opportunity to go out and see some folks at some events this week. It's been a reactivation, I guess, of a lot of our social calendars. I know there's plenty of community events that are coming up as well. I want to say a special thanks to all of the staff who helped out at our town hall and talking about the strategic plan. The Kids Corner looked like it was a hit. There were lots of engaged folks putting their vote up and talking to folks, and I believe you probably had a lot of cookies go out the door and water handed out as well. I was very encouraged by the participation, by the willingness of folks to come out on a Tuesday evening and talk about how they see Des Moines now and what they would like to see in the future. And I hope folks saw all the council members who were there and how much we are listening and really wanting to stay in tune with what our community's visions are and what some of those challenges are. I will say that some of those forced question activities were very difficult, and I'm hoping that we can find ways to accommodate both. And many of you who are here in the room were there to see some of those things where you have to wrestle with preserving open spaces or development, and how do you have those things at the same time? And we were forced into a choice, and it was very difficult, but I guarantee that those are questions that will wrestle for years to come. So I appreciate that. I hope that you all have lots of great family time in the next month, and that's the conclusion of my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Nutting.
Nothing this week, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. I watched the, well, first of all, forget that. I watched the Citizens Advisory Board meeting today, and I want to just note how thoughtful so many of the comments were. One person made a really good remark about the survey that did get a lot of feedback, and she said, why wasn't the airport mentioned? And I love that, because it's the thing that somebody, if you're an outsider, you just, within 5 minutes, it's like, that's it. But we're so inured to it. It's not that people don't care about it, it's that I'm pretty sure whoever came up with a survey they're inured to it, or they think there's nothing that can be done about it. The same thing with so many things around here. I heard a discussion of potential, and the city manager, interpreted that as disappointment, and other people said, no, it's more positive. But it's not disappointment so much as just being inured to it's this chronic thing. It's like having, if you're lucky enough to have children, they reach a certain age where you go, come on, man, are you ever going to get a job? And that's the thing. There's just this, people just get inured to stuff. A couple of members mentioned better outreach, and I really appreciated that. We have this, we're in this bubble, frankly, and when I started going to St. Philomena so many years ago, it was like 90% people who look like me, English speakers, 10% Hispanic, Spanish speakers, and now it's flipped. By rights, it should be the whole thing should be a Spanish language thing. And that is a hub for a large population that will basically you will never see on Marine View Drive, or you may be at the beach park on a Sunday. And there are a dozen communities that I have had the privilege to get to know over the years that are not represented. And they're not going to be part of a survey. It's not that, it's just, you have to decide, do you want to actually capture the entirety of the city? Or do you want to make it more of what you already like about it? But it's self-selecting. I spoke with a couple of county council members this week, and, everybody talks about how South King County has grant money available. People just don't apply for it. And we should take note of that and somehow reform how part of deciding what we want to be is going to be deciding, do we want to actually represent the people who are here? And do we actually want to attract a wider cohort of people to the town? Because that's really what's going to, determine how much economic development you can do. Do you really want more people to come here? It's a real question. And I don't think we've addressed it at this point. And I sure hope we start taking that seriously.
Thank you, council member. You need to wrap up
One last
quickly.
sentence, please. I wish our budget included the marina. It went out to 2031.
You need to close in one sentence,
And it
please.
should have gone to 2032. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Councilmember Oxiger.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a lot going on our plates this last week, and last weekend the inauguration of the light rail, $2.5 billion asset that's now at our eastern door, and I was quite encouraged that I took the inaugural train from Federal Way back to the College Station here. And it was interesting as we were getting off. Now, this is the inaugural train, right? As we were getting off, there were people waiting to get on with their luggage. They were going to the airport. Wow. I mean, it's like they must have been online saying, "Can I take this train?" I think it's going to have a huge impact. Hence, I've made the request in the past that we really accelerate our last mile considerations, and also thank you for the references to our economic development of the area up there. The transportation oriented development is going to be very important. Anyway, it was a great event. Started out at like 7 o'clock in the morning because I had some other duties I was having to do with regard to it, and then we got home. No sooner got home, and then had to turn around and come right back for the tree lighting down at the holiday tree lighting at the marina, which was excited to see the number of people that came out, and it looks like it has the potential of being an even bigger and better celebration than we've had at Big Catch Plaza. So I was glad to see that. I will add that coming up Saturday night, 5 p.m. down in Redondo, they are reviving their tradition. We'll say reigniting their tradition.
Reignite.
Of an annual bonfire. It actually coincided with the Argosy Christmas ship, which, because of COVID, has for the last few years not been coming out onto Puget Sound, although this year they are doing something in Tacoma. So hopefully we can get that back, but it's a celebration of the Redondo community and the whole south end. So that's at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and I know that several council members have indicated they would be there. And other than that, happy holidays. And also to the mayor and to former Mayor Mahoney, thank you for your service, and on we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Deputy Mayor Steinmetz next.
Okay, boy, it's going to sound very, very familiar. because there are a lot of events going on. I also was at the light rail celebration starting in Federal Way, took the train up here to the Kent Des Moines station, and and was part of the celebration up there. It was wonderful. Nice to see everybody involved in that. From there, I went to the Des Moines Historical Society, which is having an open house on Saturday afternoon. It's a great little place. If you've ever seen it, I would encourage people to do it and just go take in a lot of the things that they have, because it's really nice. The tree lighting then was Saturday night. That was a wonderful thing to do, and it was a big success. More people than I think we've ever had at Big Couch Plaza, and nobody was stepping off a curb into traffic either, which is a really good thing. So I think that has great potential at this point. I was at the CAB meeting, the town hall meeting. Of course, I'm here tonight. Don't get a night off. I thought things might slow down after the election. I'm still go, but it's fun. The Redondo bonfire I got an invitation to as well, and if the weather gods cooperate, we'll see you there. And previously I was at the Sound Cities Association that honored Mayor Buxton as the outgoing president of Sound Cities Association. And I just want to say to both you and Matt Mahoney that I'm really going to miss both of you. I've really appreciated getting to know you, and I know we'll continue to be friends. But you've been a huge asset up here, and I appreciate it very much from both of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Matt, I'm going to turn it to you and call you Matt, because you've been my friend.
That's fine. Thank you, Mayor.
To you.
Tracy. I'm going to exercise a little bit of privilege here as I exit 8 years. I'm going to speak a little bit longer than the 4 minutes. I hope that's okay.
Yes, it is.
This was an 8-year journey, actually a 9 when you count the campaign, and then, of course, being involved in the community several years before that. I want you to know it's been a very tough and tall order to move this city forward. During my time on council, we went through some of the very tough times. We endured COVID, leadership changes, trying to pass a bond that I think is going to change the city in great ways, severe inflation, and unfortunately difficulty with some council members pertaining to domestic abuse, verbal abuse of staff, violations concerning conflict of interest, and while we continually battled media channels that misinformed our residents. I've been pondering the words to say for some time. So when I attended the town hall a couple nights ago, and like many of the events I attended over the past 12 years of various forums and neighborhood meetings, the same 3 things are always the priorities: public safety, development of the downtown and the water side, and fiscal sustainability. I keep hearing it time and time again that we should listen to the residents. And the funny thing is, that's exactly what the majority of the council has been doing for many years. Every action we have taken has been predicated on these very asks. For decades, the city has studied the marina and various aspects of future planning for the city, and the results continue to be, quite frankly, the same. New studies are consistently requested, and I'm not saying they're not valid to do. And the reports are and will be pretty much the same as what we continue. What's missing, and has been missing, is taking action. How long do we all really want to just talk about it? So in the past 8 to 10 years, I'm proud of what we've pushed in action, because for decades, we've made a tremendous amount of progress over the last decade that we've been involved. And I think we've succeeded in what we can do. Much may be said of my time on council, and so be it. I have never cared about getting credit, and I've always been welcome to take the blame. I only cared about breaking the decades-old cycle of doing the same thing and getting nowhere. From my heart, I can tell you this: I've never shirked from my responsibilities to do what needed to be done to move the city forward. Getting the bond passed will finally break the city free and away from the paralysis by analysis that has plagued our community. The support we provided for our business in times of emergency, COVID, and other situations, I believe, saved many of them. Changing leadership at the city manager level was one of the toughest things I have ever done. In truth, I'm incredibly happy with the current leadership, but I also want to acknowledge the hard work of the past under difficult circumstances. Personally, leading this change came at a cost greater to me personally than anyone but myself will ever know. I am okay with that. I really am. The challenge of COVID and the severe inflation are real, despite the fact that so many deny them. The fact that our costs have gone up 25% and our revenue maybe 3 to 4 in the past 5 years alone, minus any efforts we've made to close the gap, is staggering for the city's better. It's a staggering impact to try to better the community. The sad thing is, even on this dais, some have never acknowledged the fact, and that should be concerning. Yet through all this, it was an honor to serve Des Moines because I believe in our future. I want to thank what I'll call the most excellent staff a city could ever have. As residents, we are fortunate to have them. They are highly experienced, qualified, and an effective group and worth every penny we pay them. I am thrilled about our city manager and her team and her team and what they can accomplish if they get the support they need to move this city forward. Thanks to Catherine. I guess we're all going by first names right now. I am so glad you are at the helm. I've hired some great people in my career, but you are one of the best. Thanks to Tim, George, and your team as well. I don't want to forget the team. And so if I'm missing names here, when I choose a leader, I also mean their team. You brought us through some really challenging times, and we're always sound with your advice. We had those meetings and trying to deal with difficult situations, and I want you to know that I appreciate you more than I think you will ever know. I also want to say that same thanks to AJ and her team. Your knowledge and thoughtful demeanor resonate excellence, especially as we negotiated some pretty heavy actions. And I just appreciate that. And I want to thank Jeff and his team. Your passion for finance, which some people might think is wrong, I don't, I'm just going to say that, is unsurpassed, and your willingness to go ahead with the tough fiscal environment and decisions we currently live in is deeply appreciated. I want to thank Chief Bowe, and for that matter, former Chief Thomas, and our police department. Thank you for keeping our city safe. And I am deeply sorry I could not do more to ensure that our officers are adequately supported. I fear for our officers' safety because of the levee failing. I'll be candid. I want to thank Mike Slevin and his team. Is he still here? Oh, gosh. Okay, well, he better listen to this later. I really appreciate your expertise in the field of public works, project initiation, and transportation. Without your help, I fear the city would have spent the next decade swirling in the same conversation we just finished battling through. Your oversight of the marina, Redondo, and the Veterans Memorial on the north end of town will change the city's course forever. You know it and I know it. And by the way, he can never retire. I'm sure that other staff leadership would concur. And I want to thank Rebecca. You might not know this, but the reason I went and ran for city council was because I improved a home. And I went through a horrible experience with the permit center. And electricians and stuff, I'd call them up, and once they found out it was Des Moines, they didn't want to work here. I think that you're going to change that dynamic, and I'm going to see not only our city improve, but our neighborhoods as well. And it gives me peace knowing that you're there. I've seen the level of expertise and experience you possess, and the level of how you consider customer service to be. And I want to just say thank you. She's not here, Judge Leone and her staff. They had a difficult job to do as well. And her creative ways to adjudicate the community in a fair and equitable ways has just been amazing. And I want to thank Tara and the city clerk group, Sarah, and everybody there. And I gotta add IT to that. Because I've seen running meetings and so forth, you guys were always there. You always gave me the support I needed, and I really appreciate it. A lot of times, you don't get that thanks, and I'm thanking you today. And then, lastly, on those, I want to thank Bonnie and Scott. There are simply not enough words that I can say that show my appreciation for all you do for this city. You truly love the city, both of you. And I think he's listening tonight. So, hi, Scott. Yeah. Knee surgery today is your excuse. We're going to buy it. Right. But if we ever get a statue in town, the two of you should be the statue. Yes. I'm sorry. I just believe that. And I want to thank all my former council members. I learned so much from them, and as well as the current council. And I've watched all of them, both current and past, work so hard for the city. For my new members, I got a few pieces of advice, and you don't have to take it, but I sure the hell would if I were you. I want you to know, voting no is easy, all right? I mean that. I'm going to repeat that. Voting no is easy, because you can always critique those that made the tough decisions to move the city forward. But I'll tell you what's worse, taking credit later if you voted no. There will be times that will scare you, keep you up at night, and I'm going to tell you that's good, because it shows you care. Choose your leaders on council wisely. Do not come into the office thinking you know everything. Be willing to learn. The ones that do not do this turn out to be the worst to hold these positions. When you meet with the city manager, ask only one question. How can I help you help the city succeed? Your agendas and desires can come later. Spend the first 6 months learning from staff. It will pay off throughout your term. You're going to find out how much you really do not know. And I mean it. It was a humbling experience on my own. Accept this fact. Be open to listen and learn. Be prepared that the speed of government is never fast enough. As an impatient, business-minded person, and I know both of you are, you'll find that to be true. Be wary of social media, blogs, and what I call the vocal minority. Often they exclude key facts, perpetuate ignorance, and mislead our residents. Remember, when ignorance leads an agenda and that the message gets communicated to the public, the result is nothing more than calculated stupidity within our township. Facebook pages and blogs are full of this, unfortunately. Come prepared for your meetings. Set a regimen to review the packet at a high level on Friday. Study the packet when you can on the weekend. Ask questions as needed. And study the sections again with the highest priority through the week as you prepare for Thursday's meeting. If you wait till Wednesday night and are not prepared, it will show. Counter nonsense. In a public forum, you will hear it. Counter it with fact. Don't let what I call waxing idiotic prevail. There will be 3 or 4 challenging decisions in your term of 4 to 8 years. There's other decisions, but there's really going to be 3 or 4 pivotal moments that in that time you will deal with, right? You will know what those are because you will feel the pressure unlike any other times. Be strong. Listen to all voices. Vote for what is best. Stand your ground and live with it. Never vote to keep your job or re-election. Avoid pressure, avoid conflict, vote for what is right, and if you don't do that, if you don't want to do those things, resign. Always, and I mean always, use this last filter in any decision you make with this question. Is it the best thing for Des Moines, regardless of the opposition and adversity? Now, this is what I read the first night of the day from the dais, and I'm going to close with this. It was from the Comprehensive Plan in 1962. Like all other cities, Des Moines has its own assortment of land problems, some of them beyond its control. 1 mile north of Des Moines is a large international airport. Steadily increasing air traffic flying at low altitudes creates a nuisance and a hazard to property in and near the approach zones of this large majority. Plans to install a second major runway paralleling the existing runway will further increase its nuisance and hazard effects. The city is bordered and traversed by state highways. Traffic counts on these highways and on its arterial streets indicate that daily volumes of traffic is steadily increasing and will continue to increase. The downtown district of Des Moines is strung out along an arterial street. It lacks unity, and it lacks off-street parking. A recent survey made by the JCs reveals the fact that many of the commercial structures can be classified as old and needing repair or replacement. A survey made in February of 1962, analyzing assessed value of the land and buildings in the downtown area, indicate on the several parcels of land and the land itself, the land itself is worth more than the commercial structures on it, and the city needs sidewalks. So for decades, right, we've been swirling. And when I came on, it's like, let's change that, damn it. And I think we have to some degree, right? It's one of the biggest accomplishments. So I got to ask the residents, do you really want the change you call for? Are you ready for the change that comes with it? Are you willing to stand the heat of change? I close with this thought. At the town hall on Tuesday, there was an exercise using Wordscape. We used a QR code and texted one-word entries on what each of us viewed of the city currently. The words danced around the screen and the most common words growing in size. At the end, the word with the most entries and the largest was potential. Both former Mayor Pina and I have always been frustrated by this word because for decades that perception has been the same. My frustration to explain this is simple. It's because people who have experienced success are not satisfied with the word potential. Instead, what they do is realize it. I believe in my time here, I have done my best to move the city forward and realize some of that change. And now I leave the charge to you on the dais and you, the residents, to leave Potential Island, where we've been marooned for so long, and shed the NIMBYism and support needed change and realize that we can be a better Des Moines. Thank you.
Well said, Matt. Well said. This is the kind of thing that always has made me feel a little bit jealous. He's so able to come forward with clear thoughts, clearly articulated, convincing, passionate, moving. I feel moved by that. And Matt's always had a gift and been able to do that. I'm not going to be as eloquent. I'll say this. In closing, how do I even sum up my thoughts about this experience? Besides my faith and my family, serving as mayor of this city has been the greatest pleasure of my life. I've met and worked with the most magnificent people. This community has been sacrificial and passionate, and some of you I have come to love personally and deeply. This staff has been innovative, hardworking. I can't see. Innovative, hardworking, and responsive. And some of you I have come to love personally and deeply. I appreciate this council. This is a hard job and pays little, and everyone up here, everyone, has sacrificed more than anyone can truly know in order to be here to serve. Everyone. And some of you I've come to love personally and very deeply. I love Des Moines, and I plan on staying involved and serving this community for a long time, but I will miss this, and I'll miss working with you in this way. I would like to close with a prayer. Lord, bless this community with thankfulness. Bless this staff and departments with energy and hope. And bless this leadership with wisdom and then the courage to carry it out, dang it. Lord, you know. In Jesus' name, amen. So. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Well, this concludes our meeting. The next meeting will be January 8th, 2026, a City Council business meeting, and please remember to pick up all your cookies on the way out. Councilmember Mahoney, do we have a motion?
Move to get the hell out of here for one last time.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second with Deputy Mayor Steinmetz. Well, that is a wrap. With this meeting, I adjourn. Thank you to all of you. Okay.